It was spring break of my junior year. College still felt like it stretched on forever, endless days ahead. Kevin, Allie, Eb, and me hit the road for a car camping trip in Colorado. We'd done this every year since freshman year, but that semester broke as hell. So we opted for dispersed camping instead of paying for a real campground. I found this spot on one of those apps. Free sites tucked away from the crowds. Somewhere outside Buena Vista, down a Forest Service road that seemed to stretch forever into nowhere. We got there late afternoon and picked a clearing near what looked like an old creek bed. Dried up now, but you could still tell water had run through here. I slept like a log, weird for me normally. I'm a light sleeper, waking up at least 3 times a night. When I woke up the next morning, something felt off. All 4 tents had been moved. Not ruffled, not torn apart by animals, actually relocated. I checked every inch of my own tent, sleeping bag exactly where I'd left it, phone still plugged into the charger, gear all in place, nothing missing. My friends must have felt the same, I yelled, and Kevin was out first. Ali mentioned she'd had a dream, walking through a desert, someone counting her steps aloud. The rhythm steady, almost meditative. Kevin chimed in that he'd dreamed of marching with his army buddies. Neither remembered anything else but the dreams. Eerily similar. Like 2 people seeing the same thing in different ways. The vibe between us was weird, almost like we were reading each other's minds. Not a bad way to feel. It just felt too connected, too much, for some reason. The best description I can give, like there was a 5th person watching us all, and they were part of us. We examined the campsite carefully. Kevin suggested maybe we'd just gotten too drunk and forgotten everything, but then we found drag marks. The tracks stopped about 10 feet short, like someone had dragged them halfway, then lifted and carried them the rest. For a second, we just stood there, silent, staring at the scattered stones. Then things went from a 5 to a 10. All 4 of us heard it at once, a low rumbling sound. It sent us into panic. We packed without even talking, like we were reading each other's minds again, and not just the thoughts, our feelings too. We keep in touch but never really brought up that night. Kevin moved to Denver after graduation. Allie's in grad school in California, Ebe Chicago with his girlfriend. My name is... It began with a quiet weekend in the woods, just Simon and Cadence, no cell service, no distractions. They'd been together a year and a half, routine, comfortable, but slowly growing stale. The woods were meant to reawaken them. No phones, no noise, just the sound of nature and 2 people rediscovering each other. They chose a remote campground. 3 miles down a forest road nestled under trees for privacy. He'd spent weeks searching for the perfect place. Not too crowded, but still connected to nature. The location secluded, quiet, and just far enough from civilization to feel truly alone. They arrived just as the sun dipped below the trees, safe, quiet, and ready for their own little world. The drive wasn't easy, gravel roads and uneven terrain, but it led them to the perfect escape. The campground, quiet, private, and surrounded by nature, exactly what they needed. Picnic tables hidden among trees, perfect for privacy. Everything felt just right. Privacy, that was all they needed, and it came in the form of trees, shadows, and silence. They circled the campground, no one else in sight, just nature and silence. One car, a blue sedan, parked at another site. No one around, just the woods and quiet. They chose a spot at the edge, where the road disappeared into the trees, blocking any view from other campers. Perfect. No one would see them, not even from the road. Just nature, shadows, and peace. They spent the evening building their camp. Tents, fire rings, picnic tables. Everything felt right. Cadence had a vision, and Simon trusted her to make it perfect. As evening fell, and firelight flickered, they sat in silence, just 2 people sharing space. They built their camp, fires lit, food prepared, nothing to worry about, until the darkness came. The night settled, quiet, peaceful, just the sound of nature, and 2 people who had found each other again. They drank beer and watched the fire. No need for words. They were simply present. At midnight, or close enough, Cadence wandered off. He stayed by the fire alone. He finished his beer. He poked at the flames, then he noticed something beyond the light. He saw him, just there, beyond the light. And then he jumped. I didn't hear a thing, not one step, not one breath, until he was right there. He apologized like he knew exactly how unnerving his presence was, but there was no warmth in it. Cadence walked back. She didn't look happy about the interruption, and Aiden noticed right away. He said he was escaping crowds, yet here he stood, talking right in our space. Then he vanished. Not literally, but emotionally. All focus shifted to Cadence. I stepped in, told them we needed rest. That was enough for Aiden to leave. As we walked into the dark, I noticed he hadn't used any light. It felt like he knew something about this place. Cadence slept soundly. We decided not to think too hard about what happened. I woke up, not from sleep, but from fear, because I heard voices again. They stopped when I appeared, even though I thought I was completely silent. I shined my light everywhere, but no one was there, except the silence that followed. I went back inside and tried to go back to sleep. It was a public campground after all. People stay up late on camping trips. I didn't mention it to Cadence the next morning. No point in stressing her over nothing. That day we hiked. It was fun. A decent workout, honestly. As the sun started going down, I went to grab more firewood. That's when I saw it, a note hidden under the wiper. It said, "You should move your tent." I showed Cadence the note, told her everything about the previous night. When she saw the note, her first question, "Was it Aiden?" I replied, "Probably Aiden. Who else could have left that note?" And then Aiden himself appeared, calm yet unnerving. Rage overcame me. I told him he had to stop showing up like this. Cadence asked him why, and then he revealed something unexpected. "I'm just surprised you're so young here," he went on. "There's strange things happening here, abandoned campsites with no trace, belongings left behind, odd occurrences." I didn't believe him yet. His calm delivery made me question if maybe he knew more than he let on. He added, "I heard footsteps near my truck last night. I figured I'd better check it out." His trip short and go home before sunset. Advised us to do the same. At that point, I wasn't going to argue. And Cadence didn't want to stick around either, so we started packing, stressful, since the sun was already almost set. Could tell Cadence was starting to freak out, her hands shaking as she put stuff in the car. Tried my best to calm her down, but not feeling great about things myself. Finally finished getting everything in the car. Started pulling out. Without another word, sun basically said goodbye, and it would probably be fully dark in a few minutes. As I was driving out, noticed Aiden's blue sedan still parked at his campsite. Strange, saw him crouch down near one of his tires. So I actually stopped my car, asked what he was doing. He stepped back to reveal massive gash in the tire. Definitely done deliberately. Cadence said holy, and I was pretty shocked too. Didn't know what to do at first. He asked if I could give him a lift, but Cadence whispered she wouldn't be comfortable with that, so I told him my brother, which led him to ask me if I'd call the police for him as soon as I got service. I told him I would, pulled out of the campground and started down the dirt road, headlights on full blast. Maybe 100 yards down, glanced to my right and saw them. 3 figures standing in the woods, maybe 30 feet off the road, not moving. Didn't look like they were trying to hide either. I only saw them for a split second, but I was 100% sure they were people. Cadence noticed too. My foot instinctively hit the brake, no idea why. Before I could think it through, Cadence grabbed my arm and screamed at me to drive, like a genuine scream, so I did. Cadence didn't say anything the whole way back to the highway. As soon as I got service, pulled over and called 911, told them everything. I went out into the Montana wilderness all alone. Just wanted silence and space after my divorce. 2 days ago, I was 28, working remotely as an IT consultant in Bozeman. Cadence tried to reassure me Aiden was part of it. Maybe he was, but I think she's just trying to cope with her own fears. I didn't tell anyone where exactly I was going, just my brother vaguely, like somewhere in the woods near Helena. I had TO saved up, missing a week of work. Not the end of the world, but I needed to be alone, no one else around to distract me. I packed everything I needed for a solo trip into the Montana wilderness. Food, gear, protection. Not a gun nut, but you don't go that deep without it. It took about 4 hours to reach the wilderness. First part was smooth, but then came the rough Forest Service roads. The final stretch was a headache. GPS kept rerouting me. I had to backtrack through thick brush until I found the right trail. I spent hours hunting for the right path. Finally found it, but it was barely visible under the trees. I cleared the way. Truck was sturdy, but I feared being trapped if something went wrong. I shut off the engine, ready to camp, confident I'd be okay even if I needed to back out later. I felt confident, deep into the woods, but there's always some place that feels right, even if it doesn't truly exist. I found the perfect spot, hidden, quiet, surrounded by nature's embrace. Then I saw it, an old tent, faded and forgotten as if left behind decades ago. I thought maybe another camper had come before me, but this tent looked ancient with mold crawling across its fabric. I stepped closer, curious despite the warning signs, called out, expecting someone to answer. No answer, but the zipper was half undone, so I pulled it open to see inside. The smell hit me, like rotting meat or something long dead, overwhelming and suffocating. Still curious, I pushed deeper, found a sleeping bag, cans of food, and a notebook. I grabbed it before turning back. I reached my head back into pure air. Nothing else in the tent besides what I'd mentioned. After stepping out of the tent, I started flipping through this little notebook and immediately realized what it was. Pages and pages of tally marks, must have been hundreds. All in groups of 7, the last page 42 groups, spanning 8 months. I was more curious than spooked, actually kind of excited I'd stumbled onto my own mystery. After flipping through a few times, nothing else to do, I ended up keeping it. What was I supposed to do with it anyway? I woke up randomly in the middle of the night. Not sure what time it was, but knew I hadn't woken up to nothing. Heavy sleeper even out here. I froze in the dark, listened hard for anything that might have woken me up. After 30 seconds, I heard whispers, 2 or 3 voices, maybe 20 feet away. Sleeping bag, pretending to be asleep. Voices stopped, but still didn't want to move. After a few seconds, started hearing footsteps around my tent. Realized whoever was out there were circling my tent like an animal might. Instinctively, hand went straight to my rifle. Turned out to be the right decision because not 2 seconds later, someone started yanking on my tent zipper. When it didn't budge thanks to clip side, pulled back. Had my rifle aimed directly at the flap and a very strong part of me wanted to just fire right then. Expected the person messing with my tent to leave, but no, started scratching the flap like they were trying to cut their way in. That's what sent me over the edge. Scratching stopped immediately, few seconds of complete silence, then heard footsteps, multiple sets, running away in different directions. At least 3 people, which was somehow 10 times worse than thinking it was just 2. Didn't all run the same way, which struck me as strange. Didn't sleep much that night, but felt very safe with my rifle by my side. As soon as the sun rose, unzipped my tent and stepped outside, making a big show of brandishing my rifle. Immediately looked over at where the old moldy tent had been. It was gone. Walked over to the spot. No ground depression, no stake holes. Grass wasn't even flattened, but I knew for a fact that there'd been an attempt there. Had stared at it for hours the previous day when I did find footprints. Bare human footprints all around my campsite in a rough circle about 20 feet out. Tons of them. Different sizes, which confirmed more than 2 people had been there. Some were deep, like whoever made them had been standing there for a long time. One set led over to a big pine tree at the edge of the clearing. Walked over, and that's when I saw them. Fresh cuts in the bark. Knew what they were, tally marks. 7 groups of 7 and the start of an 8th. Just like the notebook. Stood there. I tried to piece it together. That damn journal had been counting something for over 8 months. Now, fresh gouges on this tree right beside my campsite. Didn't want to think what that meant, but it got worse because as I turned to back away from the trunk, I saw it. The worst thing I've ever laid eyes on. A dead squirrel dangling from a low branch. Maybe 5 feet off, tied up with fishing line. Made my stomach twist. Didn't need another sign. I bolted back to camp, packing like hell, hands shaking, mind racing. Couldn't focus on anything but getting out. Didn't look over my shoulder, not until the last second every few seconds, like a heartbeat counting down. Got everything packed, jogged toward the truck, threw it in, jumped in, backed out. Half expected, slashed tires, but nope, untouched. The path was narrow, backing out harder than pulling in, torture. Hell, but I made it. By the time I got home, didn't even bother calling anyone. What good would a report do? Nobody's gonna trek that far into the woods just to check on a squirrel with fishing line tied around its neck. What freaks me most? That damn squirrel. No one does that unless they're sending a message or warning you off.